apart. My life plans seemed to have just fallen apart. And I really wasn't sure where life was supposed to take me anymore. And so as I started learning more about Islam and about the attributes of Allah, I started to gain peace in my life and understanding how it's all Allah's decree and how merciful and how all-knowing that He is. I started to have more trust with Him, with Allah. And through that, it was the guidance that I was kind of always looking for in my life. And I had to come to the terms of like, can I be Muslim? Like all the beliefs were there. They were solid with me. They were always my truth. But I had to come to the terms of like, can I be Muslim with the fact that my family is Latino and like Hispanic? Like I've never met another like Latino Muslim before. I always thought of just like Pakistanis or Arabs as being the Muslims, Malaysians being like, I never seen it in my community, with my culture, as well as just like the treatment of Muslim women. I hadn't always heard
by the media, right?
Portrayed by the media. I hadn't always heard the best. So I'm like, well, I already deal with being a woman at my workplace, with the minority of being Latina. Like, do I want to add this to my life?
More, yeah.
Exactly. But I could not deny the truth.
Yeah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. As-salatu was-salam ala Rasulihil Kareem. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Allahumma faqqihna fid din. Rabbi yassir wa la tu'assir wa tammim bil khair. Wa bika nasta'in ya aziz ya ghaffar. Dear viewers, assalamu alaikum and welcome to our episode 3 of Heart to Heart with New Muslims. Dear viewers, as you know that we have been talking about and giving some introduction of Islam as well as we go into having our heart to heart with the new Muslims who have taken this faith as a choice as opposed to many of us who were born into it. So, but before I go into that and introduce our two guests today, I just want to make this point with us today that God has announced to us in the Quran that He has created all of us from a single soul. And this unity of creation brings to us the unity of humanity. And this is why, as Muslims, we believe that in this life, in this earth, we are meshed into 4 different kinds of relationship. The relationship that we have between us and Allah Ta'ala, which is based upon obedience. And the relationship that we have between us and ourselves, which is based upon self-recognition. Then there is a third relationship that we have with our surroundings, which is based upon prosperity, that we build our surroundings and we use it. But the fourth kind of relationship is the most important relationship as far as Islam goes, and that is the relationship between us and other human beings, because this is that relationship that is accompanied by relationship with God. And we do know that Allah Ta'ala starts the Quran by saying, all praise and thanks to the Lord of the worlds, who is most merciful, extremely merciful. And from this, many of our scholars have said that God has created us out of mercy. And to worship God and to love Him is to have mercy upon His creation. And this is why we hear Prophet Muhammad ﷺ saying that be merciful to people. And he also said, the one who is not merciful to people on the earth will not receive mercy from the Creator, from the sky. So we need to understand these kinds of things. And another aspect of this understanding is that we make it easy for people. This is one of the other hadith of the Prophet ﷺ is saying that he said, make it easy for people. Be the giver of the glad tidings and spread easiness for people. So this is like, the essence of one of his sayings that we learned from him. So with that, I introduce our two guests today. We have Sister Anna with us and we have Sister Tanya with us. So in the rest of the program, we will engage into a conversation with both of them. And as you all know, this is a real talk. We really engage into heart to heart with new Muslims, inshallah. So starting with Sister Tanya. Sister Tanya, assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much for being here. So Tanya, tell us something about yourself.
All right. My name is Tanya. I'm actually from Buffalo, New York, and I just moved here in March. And I actually took my Shahada two weeks after I moved here.
Wow.
Yeah.
And this is Tanya's first Ramadan as
Yeah,
well.
my first Ramadan, and
Mashallah.
I'm fasting. Alhamdulillah. It's been
Alhamdulillah.
very easy for me.
Alhamdulillah, 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 mashallah. So, and we also have Sister Anna here. So, Sister Anna, something about yourself. Introduce us to yourself.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
My name is Ana Milense. I was born in Honduras, but I've moved to the States with my family at the age of 3. So I've been in Washington and Texas. I grew up, I would say, agnostic with Catholic parents. And it wasn't until I moved to Dallas and had graduated from college and was in a corporate job that one of my coworkers that was Muslim that introduced me to Islam. And alhamdulillah, I'm going on 2 years since I took my shahada.
Wow.
And this is my 3rd Ramadan, alhamdulillah.
Wow, mashallah. That's amazing, mashallah.
Yeah.
So, Tanya, so how did you find Islam?
So, I used to be a very big gamer. PC games, shooters, sandbox games, it didn't matter. If it was a game that I could play on my computer or VR, I was playing it. I met somebody that I liked a lot, and I was gaming with them for what seemed like a very, very, very long time. And it first started hearing Arabic whenever their parents would come in and talk to them or anything like that. And then learning how like tight-knit their family was, and then went on to talk about the community and how tight-knit Muslims were, and the sense of community and family that they had there, which I didn't have growing up, because I basically lived on my own since I was 16.
Wow.
My parents divorced when I was young, and I didn't just have that closeness that I always wanted.
Right.
So I started learning from him a little bit and fell in love with it, and then I was going to move for school, and basically like a week or 2 before I was supposed to move, he stopped talking to me, and I came here and I just couldn't stay away. So
Yeah, so at this point, you're already, in love
I was
with
committed.
Islam.
Yeah.
So even if the relationship didn't work out, Islam worked out for you.
Oh yes.
Yes, so alhamdulillah. Yes, that's amazing. So, Anna, what about you? How did you find Islam? You just mentioned that
Yes,
it
it was through a coworker, so I
Yes.
can relate to one aspect of that in the sense when I started learning about Islam is because I had intentions to want to be in a relationship with my coworker that was Muslim, and my understanding was kind of like, oh, why can't you do you and I do me? Like, I'll respect your religion. I don't really see the need to have a religion. I always kind of had a bad view of like religious institutions. I was always spiritual. I always like believed in something bigger. I just didn't like the thought of a church, and I thought like being Muslim meant some type of like church vibes. But it was through these conversations with my coworkers that I found out the biggest thing that led me to Islam was him describing Allah being the creator and none like his creations, meaning like everything that we see on this earth is his creations, and so he's none of like any of this, meaning there is no shape or body to imagine, and that was like so that it's like bigger than us. So I was like, that's kind of what I've believed in. So that made me want to learn more. And as well, in my life at that point, I had moved to Dallas for a corporate job, and I had gone through a divorce as well. Like I had married young and had a daughter at a young age, and kind of all of that kind of fell apart. My life plans seemed to have just fallen apart, and I really wasn't sure where life was supposed to take me anymore. And so as I started learning more about Islam and about the attributes of Allah, I started to gain peace in my life and understanding how it's all Allah's decree and how merciful and how all-knowing that He is. I started to have more trust with Him, with Allah, and through that, it was the guidance that I was kind of always looking for in my life. And I had to come to the terms of like, can I be Muslim? Like all the beliefs were there. They were solid with me. They were always my truth. But I had to come to the terms of like, can I be Muslim with the fact that my family is Latino and like Hispanic? Like I've never met another like Latino Muslim before. I always thought of just like Pakistanis or Arabs as being the Muslims, Malaysians being like, I never seen it in my community, with my culture, as well as just like the treatment of Muslim women. I hadn't always heard
by the media, right?
Portrayed by the media. I hadn't always heard the best. So I'm like, well, I already deal with being a woman at my workplace, with the minority of being Latina. Like, do I want to add this to my life?
One more, yeah.
Exactly. But I could not deny the truth. Yeah. And it was as simple as that. Whether the relationship worked out or not, with the relationships with my family changing or not, I couldn't deny the truth that Allah was the creator, one, and I took my shahada from there.
Wow. So, dear viewers, if you just ponder on that, what it takes us to that verse in the Quran that Allah Ta'ala talks about light upon light. So Sister Anna is telling us that, she was agnostic, but the light was there. And this tells us that she was searching for something. And the truth came to her, whichever way, but it hit the heart. So even though, being agnostic, not wanting a religion, thinking about what kind of relationships would happen, or already in the current political environment, you're already a woman, you're already a Latino, and on top of that, you're going to add this thing, being a Muslim. But this is what Allah talks about in the Quran, light upon light, that when that happens, when you start seeing everything in light, there's no way you can turn the switch off and go back to darkness. It cannot happen anymore. So this is something that what Anna is telling us is just like this verse from the Quran comes to you, that, when you see the light, there is no way you're going to turn it off and go back in the dark. Does not happen.
MashaAllah. That's
MashaAllah.
A nice way of putting it. I always had thought about it like as if a veil had been taken off.
No, this is a verse in the Quran where Allah Ta'ala talks about this.
MashaAllah.
And so sometime we can go deeper into it. He talks it like a niche, and in the niche there is a lamp, and on the lamp there is a cover, and because the cover is not clear, you're not able to see the light. But when you clear up the cover, and the light from the heavens is coming, so the light from the lamp matches with it, and it really illuminates. So once this happens, and dear viewers, sometimes, me being a Muslim that is born into Islam, when I hear such a story, it really makes me, have this thing that, I missed out on this, because alhamdulillah, all thanks to Allah that, He gave us Islam. But the thing is that this experience, that you get to choose it, that is another level of that. And we do know that the companions of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu were all like this. They saw the truth. The truth was in their heart, but they saw another light and it matched. So alhamdulillah, Anna, that was a wonderful story. Alhamdulillah. So Tanya, coming back to you, that mashallah, you're very new to Islam at this point, and mashallah, you converted right before Ramadan, and this is your first Ramadan. And by the way, viewers, Tanya is our best volunteer for Taraweeh. She's our volunteer for Jummah. She has really taken up on herself that she's going to come out of her comfort zone and become part of the community. This is something that, with my experiences with being new Muslims, many people don't do that for years. They come to Islam, but they stay in their comfort zone for years and do not become part of the community, which itself creates a lot of challenges for them. But with Tanya, we see that, mashallah, from the day one, she is willing to move out of her comfort zone, become part of the community. So Tanya, with all of that, what do you think that, can be a misunderstanding on the part of Muslims that are already into Islam or born into Islam? What has been your experience so far? Or what would you like to say to the community for us to be educated more about, that how should we embrace the new Muslims?
For me, being very, very shy, like as shy as it gets, just for having people come up to me because I was new, and introducing themselves, and just like the warm welcome that I would get from Muslim-born or even other reverts, it encouraged me more to do more. Just talking, opening up. Growing up, being around girls, it was never a positive thing.
And by the way, I've heard this complaint quite a bit, even from my students in university. They tell me this I don't know what kind of environment is here, but I think in the current environment, we are being taught as women to compete.
Yeah.
And I don't know why is this the case, but maybe there are some sociologists out there or anthropologists maybe do this kind of a research, but this is the current environment. And I do remember teaching a sociology class and coming up with this thing that women are being taught in somehow manner, because I think the idea behind this is that women are supposed to compete for the best mate kind of a thing, and they are put against each other there was a
so you apply it to all.
Yes. Yes. So this is something that I have heard complaints, raising my daughter over here and other girls, all of them have the same complaint.
Yep.
Yes, and they say boys are nicer.
No, generally they are.
Yeah.
But, that's just the way guys are. Of course, they're going to want to be nice to the lady,
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
The nicer they are, the more time they get to spend with them,
yes,
right?
exactly.
So,
that's the part we don't understand.
But with the whole, the woman thing and everything like that, I was afraid to be judged, to make a mistake, embarrass myself, not pray right, or, just not be accepted.
Yeah.
And I haven't experienced that at all. It's been very welcoming. Sisters have been encouraging. I've actually wanted to do more.
So viewers, if you look at that, Tanya took a step from her comfort zone. She tried. And she tried her best to be part of the community. I think this is a huge message for everyone who are planning to or have embraced Islam very recently, that this is a good thing. Come out from your comfort zone, embrace the community, because many people do live in that fear for years, that they don't come out and embrace the community, because what, at the end of the day, we're all human beings. And the mosque or the masjid is a very public place. You can encounter any kind of people over here. There are going to be people who are going to be educated about this thing, that Islam is by choice. It's not a birthright of anyone. Anyone can be a Muslim and have a place in the masjid. Islam doesn't belong to any race, any nation state, anything at all. It's a person and his creator, and this is a relationship between them by choice. That's all that is to it. But there's going to be people who are going to look at the cultural side of it. Oh, you're not from my culture, or you're not from my race. And this kind of experience do happen to people at the mosque. Believe it or not, it happens to us too, in a different manner though. But it does happen. But I'm very glad that Tanya took that step, and that she, from day one, was like, even I remember the day she converted, the next day she wanted to volunteer. She sent me a text that I want to volunteer at the mosque, and I was like, really? You're so new? And me and the other sisters were talking that, what if she experiences something bad? What if some auntie in the masjid tells her that you're not wearing the things right? What's going to happen then? But then we says no, because she asked, we have to give her the chance. And alhamdulillah. And another thing that we learned from her thing is that you coming up and introducing yourself, saying salam can boost someone's iman. What else do we want from here? Isn't this what Prophet ﷺ is, we learned from his seerah, that the best thing about him was his manners toward others. People would embrace Islam looking at the manners of the Prophet ﷺ and the way he treated people. So this is another thing that we learned from Tanya's story. So maybe next time when we are going to a masjid, wherever you are, and you see someone new, no matter if they are a new Muslim or not, they're just new to the masjid, go and introduce yourself. And maybe this will help them become a very integral part of the masjid, like Tanya is for us for now. She's our best volunteer in Taraweeh, in the Jummah prayer, mashallah, and she has become a part of the community. Many people, with our studios here and with the YouTube channel going on, and her conversion was on the channels. Many people in the community now know her by name. She might even not know them, because that helped as well, to be honest, because many people did call me that, there's a new convert today. We saw you on the channel. So is there anything we can do? Do you need any new clothes for her? And because many people saw you, they already know your name.
Yep.
So that helped as well. Alhamdulillah. So Anna, coming to you, what do you think can help the community in embracing, in becoming more embracing towards people who accept Islam? Or do you see anything in 2 years that you were converted? What kind of maybe experiences that you might had from maybe the born Muslims or the Masjid, or that you might interpret it as they're not accepting as well?
Okay. First of all, mashallah for you jumping right into the space of a masjid, because when I came to Islam, I really didn't know much about like the practicing side of it. It was all a lot of like my beliefs were set. And then I started to learn about the praying 5 times a day, then Ramadan and all of that. So I got really intimidated. It was my own set of fears that I would walk into a masjid, not know what I was doing. The whole sister-brother side, that confused me because I was like, where is the sister side? Simple, like it's really small things like this that are so new to us, or to me especially, that intimidated me about coming here, not knowing how to pray, where to sit, what to wear, is what kind of like made me not want to come. If I would have had a sister, because at the moment that I took Shahada, like alhamdulillah, I ended up taking Shahada, an organization called Islam in Spanish that have an outreach center in Dallas, and then their main like Islamic center is in Houston. And there it was like that after I took my Shahada, a lot of Muslims experience like this big embrace of people coming in and welcoming you into the community. And then it kind of just dies off after a few weeks or a few months.
That is true.
And then you're kind of left to just like figure things out on your own. And so I was not wanting to go through that. So I would have wanted to see like a sister, one person really feel like they could just have my back.
I was really lucky. I got set up with 2 mentors basically right away. I talked to them every week.
Right, a mentorship would be kind of like what you need, because the way I felt like going into a new masjid or going to a new like a community like Islamic center was, I felt like I was the new kid. It was that feeling all over again. And I'm really shy. In high school I was really shy, so I was not looking forward to it, but I knew that I needed a community. I needed support to continue to want to learn and practice this faith. Like I didn't just want to stop. Like I wanted to be a better Muslim and figure out how to do that. And I didn't want to rely solely on the internet, because that's kind of how I learned about Islam myself, was first through the internet. I looked at a lot of like convert videos, but after that I was like, okay, but I want resources.
And it's not easy to navigate.
No, not at all. Because on the internet there's tons and tons and tons
of people, and many times it's mixed with culture, it's mixed with other belief, it's mixed with politics too.
So I hadn't realized, alhamdulillah, that Dallas has so many amazing scholars here, being at Epic and like Yaqeen Institute, all of them. So it took a few weeks of like, my approach was through social media. Like I'm a millennial, so I go through Instagram and like Facebook to find everything. And that's how I came across some of the different programs. And that was definitely helpful in my experience as a new Muslim, is having these programs set up that are inviting, especially for like anybody, new Muslim or not, just whatever part of the journey that they're on, that somebody just takes from, I guess, the visual aspect of them and judges them quite quickly as far as like how strong they are in their faith.
Exactly.
I don't like that.
So that is another thing that we do learn, dear viewers, is that we just see someone who does not look like us, or maybe does not look like from our ethnicity, and we say, okay, so this person is a new Muslim, she or he must not know. and we need to go and teach. And many times this does happen to people that, they see someone, it's very visibly, not from those parts of the world where majority of the Muslims are from, and they take them as new Muslims and then, go ahead and start teaching them. And many times those teachings are not even correct sometimes, or maybe not timely as well. So, and because, it's a journey. And like even Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said that, go slow and put your foot firmly in there. And this happens, people out of their, what you can say that, sheer simple-mindedness might try to teach, and they averse completely towards that. So this is another thing that we learn from that. But, Anna, you mentioned something very good, that simple things like, being a sister side and a brother side was something that, we kind of like thought, oh, you know that, right?
I didn't know that. I entered through the brother side the first time I came to the masjid.
Yes. So maybe I think, listening to this, so maybe I do think that, there has to be some kind of an introductory session as well. That, and instead of explaining, because already the oneness of Allah, and this is why you're a Muslim, maybe explain these basics.
Right.
And maybe, maybe we take it with such normalcy that we forget to explain it.
Yeah.
That, this is the way it is, and, this is the way things are.
Right.
So people can feel more comfortable.
I think from the new Muslim side is having to learn like the etiquette side, and then for like the Muslims that are here in the masjid, it's just having that understanding and open-mindedness. Like, we're not going to get it right the first time. Like, have mercy with us, just have grace with us, just keep welcoming us in, because
and
we want to come.
To share with both of you, many women, especially coming from Pakistan, the smaller mosques which are in the neighborhood, they might not have a place for women to pray, because it's a Muslim country, so many mosques over there. So the people who grew up in neighborhoods, the women might not even have experienced going to mosque that often. So when they come to US, so it's just like, a new Muslim entering the mosque. Many of them wouldn't even know that, if you come to the masjid and the prayer has already started, so where do you join and how do you join?
Oh, yeah.
So they might not, because the thing is that they have not been to a mosque, that much, because the environment of the country is as such. So there are bigger mosques that you can enter, but the mosque in the neighborhood where you usually your brothers and your fathers go, you might never know. You might have never stepped in there because there's no space for women. So many women coming as immigrants have the same experience, that they might not know how to join it or how to make the straight rows, and they have to stand shoulder to shoulder.
Right.
They might not even know that, and this happens.
Right. So I guess I didn't know what to expect. Are you just supposed to just figure it out, or are there people in the community that are willing to help?
Yes, that's true. So Anna, what would you say that, what should be the role of a mentor?
The role of a mentor, I think, is just being open to answering our questions and just making us feel like no question is going to be a silly question.
Exactly.
Because I think that's where I started to draw back, and that affected my practice and faith, because I didn't have people that I felt comfortable asking some questions. And if they had just been addressed, then I could have just continued to move forward.
Yes. So this is an important point, that, creating this mentorship kind of structure and having this open mindedness that, it's going to be different, and no question is a silly question. Actually, this is a good approach. Tani, what do you think?
I mean, it was super helpful that I was able to come to you. Like, even Wadu, I think I remember telling you this story. The first time I tried to put water in my nose, I breathed it in, and I was choking for 10, 15 minutes, just.
And then you're thinking,
the little things are like tying the hijab. I had such a hard time tying a hijab.
Yeah.
That was a learning process too, of figuring out the fabrics and the materials and what undercaps,
Well, alhamdulillah.
That even clothes. I can't tell you how many hours I spent in like a Walmart or any store just sitting there stressed out, not knowing what I could wear or what was acceptable, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
So just imagine small things, but they can have a huge impact. This is the whole purpose of this series. The small things that we might not even pay attention to can have a huge impact on the people who are entering into Islam, and that can create or that can push them back in their practice, if not in their faith or in their being connected to the community, and these things can go on. So, a last question for both of you. So now, being a Muslim and being part of the faith, so what do you expect, or where do you see next? What do you, being a Muslim now and being part of faith and everything, so what do you think is going to be in the future?
For who? What do you mean?
Like for yourself, what do you see yourself? Like, gaining more knowledge, having a family, having a Muslim family, gaining more knowledge, maybe doing something with this.
Definitely.
Yes. So what do you see? Like, just curious.
Inshallah, I see for myself in this last 2 years that I have a sense of fulfillment when I can help out with any new Muslim, make them feel welcome. I do a lot of volunteering at Roots and Islam in Spanish.
Wow, that's good. Yeah.
Because with Roots, I feel like it's that middle ground between a masjid and just a regular community center.
That's true, yeah.
So you see people that maybe hadn't been practicing their faith for their lives, and now they're seeking more knowledge and interest, and it's super welcoming, and I just wanted to return that type of favor back with them. And same with Islam in Spanish. It's so important to hear about the faith in my native language. It hits different.
Exactly.
It really does hit different.
It does. Yes.
So I definitely see myself wanting to be more involved with their initiatives of spreading Islam in Spanish in any way possible. I love these missions because I just want people to find Islam, find the peace that I found. And if I saw myself as someone that I would never be religious, that's what I considered myself. If I found Islam, then I feel like so many other people as well could find peace with Islam. And yes, inshallah, I would love to be married again and have the foundation of a Muslim family, those values, the responsibilities, how they're set up. There's so much beauty in the way that Allah has described marriage in Islam, and I would like to emulate that and strive for that, inshallah.
And see, dear viewers, and you must have noticed that Latino Muslims are a big community. Right?
Yes, but I didn't know this until after I took my Shahada. So
I think they're one of the biggest community, and they go back in history. When you study the history of Spain and Muslims being there for 800 years. And Spanish having many words from the Arabic language, right? So you see that.
But a lot of a lot of my family didn't know this. This is not widespread information. It is within the Muslim community somewhat, but for non-Muslims that are Latino, they have a completely different interpretation of what it means to be Muslim.
Their forefathers might have been Muslims. Who knows? Yeah. Right. So Tanya, what about you? Same question to you. That now you feel this belonging, this sense of being here. You found this peace here yourself. So what do you see yourself doing more? Because whenever a person finds something new that is enriching, that person wants to do more with it.
Well, besides wanting to go to school, and I'm gonna inshallah do that just as Ramadan ends. I want to dive as deep as I can into Islam, learn as much as I can. I found that I'm happiest when I'm surrounded by other Muslims. And I've gone to many iftars, to sisters that are reverts, Muslims, alhamdulillah. But I just want to be as surrounded by them as possible, and maybe, inshallah, get married and have a family, because I'm about that. It's about that time for me. Yes. And this is stuff that I never thought I grew up and I was like, I'm never going to have kids. I'm never going to be religious, you know, and stuff like that. And it's like, I'm finally ready, you know, and the feeling that Allah is, you know, there and loves us and is all-knowing, and just been following His lead and His signs, you know.
MashaAllah, that's amazing. So dear viewers, you know, we conclude with that, but this thing that we need to understand. So in the first episode, we had two guests, and both of them had to say that you know, and really the comment that the brother made was awesome when he said that the racism that we might feel from, you know, from the political environment that we have, we might be emulating the same racism towards other Muslims who are converting to Islam. And that's the one message that we took from that maybe we're emulating the same thing, one thing that we don't like, we are at the receiving end of that. And then when the second episode with Sister Shana, and she said something very profound too. Then she said that if I can get away from this stigma of being a convert or a revert, I can do much more. But because I have to keep dealing with the stigma of being a convert and being a revert. And I think what she mentioned was she has been a revert for 22 years. She says, you know, it has really, stopped her from doing things that she's finally doing now. But 22 years, you know. So that's, and today, you know, from Anna and from Tanya, we are learning the same thing, that this idea that if we could have provided better mentorship, if we could have had more open channels, or if we can make it more inclusive in a way that, and dear viewers, you know, we really understand this as well, that when people come to Islam, you know, they want to be part of the normal, society and community. And for that, we have to have a system built in the community where they can find good spouses, where they can settle down as a family. And you know what Anna said and what Tanya said is right, that, you know, the idea of family and marriage is very beautiful in Islam. And when people come into Islam and they see that, of course they want to be part of that. So as a community, wherever you are, whichever masjid you belong to, whichever community you are in, we really have to start thinking about two things that we learned today: mentorship and having this internal structure in the community where these new Muslims can find a family and a home and a spouse, and they can, you know, be a part of that beautiful system of marriage that Islam has brought for us. So with that, we conclude. وآخر دعوانا والحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم وعلى وصحبه أجمعين. Thank you, Tanya, for being here, and Sister Anna, we thank you too. She had to go and check on her daughter who is waiting for her. So, but with that we conclude, and we will see you next time in our last episode. Thank you very much.